Alright, so we finally got the Bard trailer for Endwalker. There are some really cool things in this that we can glean. Overall, I think Bard is going to be in a much better place for Endwalker after having seen what we see here, along with some of the comments they made about the battle adjustments and kind of the class design for Endwalker. It's going to put Bards in a better place than we have probably ever been in 14. So we'll go ahead and I'll play through this and then I'll give my thoughts and my speculations about it. All right, so the big thing we can see right off the bat from the Bard trailer is the song duration here. We're now at a 45-second song duration instead of 30. So the comment they made in the live letter about battle adjustments is that they're changing primary abilities to be on 60 seconds and 120-second recast times on cooldowns. So essentially what this means across the board for all the classes, they're slotting everyone into this 1 to 2 minute cycle. Essentially meaning that everyone's burst and everyone's party buffs are going to line up on this 2 minute cycle. And so it's going to synergize party comps a ton. Right now Bards are on 80-second cycles. And the problem with that is that we end up in these weird situations where like everyone, all the other members in our group, all their buffs and their bursts will line up at like the 6-minute window during an encounter, you know, with their second pots and everything. Whereas we go back into our bursts around 5 minutes and 30 seconds, well before the 6-minute mark. And so we lose all those party buffs during our biggest point of our damage in our song cycle. And there's nothing we can normally do about that unless an encounter is designed for downtime where the encounter forces everything to line back up by holding a little bit or just by through its design. We really can't account for that discrepancy being on this 80-second cycle. So to break that down, what this will actually look like is, since now all our songs will be on this 45-second timer, and each song will have a 120 cooldown, 120 recast timer. So the song cycle will effectively work very similar. It's just we're going to stay in each song a little bit longer, but it's still going to be Wanderer's Minuet, Mage's Ballad, Army's Paean, and then we'll clip Army's Paean to go back into Wanderer's Minuet on that 2-minute cycle. So the way this works out, with each song being 45 seconds, if we stayed in the whole duration for each song, we end up on 135. The thing is, though, is what we can do is, you know, we start Wanderer's Minuet, stay in for 45 seconds, go into Mage's Ballad, stay in that for 45 seconds, and then go into Army's Paean. And then we stay in Armies for 30 seconds. At 30 seconds, or 15 seconds left of the duration of Army's Paean, we'll hit that 2-minute mark, meaning Wanderer's Minuet will be off cooldown. So we'll do 45, 45, 30, and then restart our song rotation. This is, I cannot overstate how big of a quality of life change this is for Bards. With our battle voice being on 120 seconds as well now, you know, and things like Battle Litany and Embolden are going to be on 120 seconds. Basically, they're lining up everyone's party buffs for the group. And this has a couple of different implications. You know, the biggest one from a kind of a Savage Raider perspective is with everyone's party buffs lining up at the 2-minute cycle now. And you know, for as far as pots are concerned, you'll be able to pot together on that 2-minute cycle as well. It's going to allow them in Savage to produce stricter DPS checks. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Because now, because everyone's lining up so well and their burst lines up with everyone else's buffs and everything, they're going to be able to institute kind of harsher and stricter DPS checks, because the classes now have the absolute ability to hit those checks if they're played correctly. So I don't think it'll be like a huge change for like groups that are playing optimally, but for like, I don't want to put this in a mean way, but for maybe more like kind of casualish Savage Raiders who are, you know, just newer Savage Raiders, they're going to find that if they're not all playing their classes correctly, or they don't have the gear yet, so this will probably be, it'll probably show its head or rear its head mostly at the beginning of the raid tier, is that, you know, if everyone in your group isn't playing their class correctly and utilizing their party buffs on the 2-minute cycle, some of those DPS checks I could see are going to be a bit mean to them. But for the most part, I don't think this is going to make a big change. All it will do really is streamline the you know, that 2-minute cycle across all the classes, and just kind of that quality of life of, you know, you're as a bard, you're not on this weird 80-second misalignment from everyone else in your group, and you're just not reaping the benefits of their buffs when you need them in your burst window. So that's the biggest part of this, the song change and the 120 cycle. That's like I said, I can't overstate, like, that is a huge, big change for us, and it's something that has needed to happen for a while, with them kind of changing our rotation timings to match up with others. And not only have they done that with Bard, but they've streamlined that very idea across all the classes. So I think this is a perfect change, and my hat's off to Yoshi P and the dev team, because this was exactly what needed to happen, and we finally see that it's going to. So some smaller Bard speculation that isn't confirmed in any way is Raging Strikes. Raging Strikes currently has a 80-second recast, and it's a 20-second duration. So with them changing the primary abilities to be 60 and 120, I suspect Raging Strikes may change to a 120-second cooldown, which would make sense, putting, you know, it would line up with Wanderer's Minuet every time, and that would work out fine for us. I suspect maybe they'll change the duration on it. They could change it from 20 seconds to maybe like 30 or 35 seconds or something like that. They may extend it a little bit. I really hope that's going to be the case, because now that we're going to be in Wanderer's Minuet longer, I feel like being able to take advantage of having Raging Strikes just for a little bit longer would, you know, naturally as a bard, it's something I want, but I think it would also make sense to do instead of just 20 seconds and then it's over. They may not make that change though. That's just kind of what I'm hoping for at the moment. They could put Raging Strikes on a 60-second cooldown, but that would just be kind of overpowered. And, you know, 2 uses per. I mean, you would get a second use during Mage's Ballad. That would be amazing, but I think it'd be a little bit too strong in that case. So I suspect they'll put it on the 120. If they leave it on the 80, that's gonna make Bard really weird. Yeah, because essentially it would just sit there and you wouldn't touch it until you went back into Wanderer's Minuet anyway. So it would make sense for them to put it on 120. But that's the big change with song rotation, 45, 45, 30, and the rotation being on the 2-minute cycle. So beyond that, we have a few other little things we can glean from this video. And so I'll go ahead and play through it here. So the other big thing we can see are these little bitty tokens next to our song gauge. and these are the colors of each song. So what it looks like is every time you change into a new song, you get this little song token. And once you have all 3 tokens, you can spend it for a party-wide buff. Now, because we get each token when we switch into the song, basically you'll be using this party-wide buff every 2-minute cycle. So it kind of plays into that, that philosophy of changing everyone to the 2-minute cycle, and the idea of just kind of giving Bard more of that support filling. And that's something that's been lacking in Bard, and people have wanted is, they want Bard to feel like it's bringing more support beyond just battle voice and a passive, song buff. Now, I suspect this buff right here we're seeing is gonna be applying the passive buff of Wanderer's Minuet, Mage's Ballad, and AP to the whole party on some set of, on some set duration. So, and this, this may work into their adjustment on Raging Strikes, depending on how long this lasts and, how much of a DPS increase this is as well, because this looks to affect us as well. You can see the song rotating around us as well. So that would either indicate that, that buff's up, or, that's just what it looks like when a person is afflicted by it. It's really hard to say at this point, but definitely a buff no matter what, and it seems to affect us as well. And that's a really nice thing, seeing as Battle Voice doesn't apply to us. The other little thing I like that they show here is we get to see the new Quick Knock. Just a little bit further back. This is I suspect this is the new Quick Knock animation. We saw this in the benchmark. This kind of arrow scatter animation. This looks so much better than Quick Knock. So I'm really happy that that this is kind of replaced that dull Quick Knock animation. And then the final change we get to see after the song token buff is after we use Apex Arrow, we go down to 0 like normal, but now we have a combo action with it, and this thing looks pretty sinister. It looks like I would think it's definitely going to do more damage than Apex, and Apex already hits like a truck. So I'm glad they introduced some kind of way, something to interact with the job gauge, and having a combo action on top of Apex Arrow at least gives us more to do, because Apex Arrow by itself is a kind of boring class ability or job gauge ability. You just hit it when it's there and that's it. But at least now we have something that interacts with it or something to combo into, and if that means just more damage for us, I'm completely happy with that. I suspect this ability is gonna be off the GCD. At least I'm hoping it is. So you could Apex Arrow on GCD, of course, and then you could use this off GCD. But again, that's just me guessing. Even if it is on GCD, that's whatever. But I'm hoping it's not. And yeah, that ability just looks really sick. So in all, yeah, it looks like Bard is in a super good place after this trailer. Just the idea that they're putting everyone on the 2-minute cycle is very, very nice quality of life change. I think it's going to allow them to change up how they design encounters for Savage. And overall, it's just going to kind of make the gameplay more enjoyable now that you're not having to worry about like different people and party timings for buffs and all that dumb stuff, not having to calculate that out. Doesn't mean a lot for kind of your average player. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just, average player, you're not going to really care about those things. But if, anyone who's parsing, making sure you're using your burst during, party buff alignment and all that is very important. And so this really takes a lot of that guessing and calculation out of it, because it should just naturally happen now. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I'm super looking forward to Endwalker, and yeah, I can't wait to get some more info on Bard and finally play it on November 23rd. Catch you later.